The question is,
Okay.
here comes retail arbitrage. That's the
Yes.
entrance point for many beginner Amazon sellers because that's all they can afford. And that is a very good entry point, right? You learn the ropes, you learn Seller Central, how to create the listing, how to all of these things. But now it's become so difficult. And I am so expecting that in a few years it may be completely gone. And I was just so that's the reason I called you today to ask for your input on that. What do you think? Like, what's happening with the niche now? You know, Amazon fighting back on, and not Amazon, but the brands are fighting back on anyone trying to sell their brand. And so, could you tell us some overview and what's your prediction, what's going to happen, and is the retail arbitrage dying or not?
No, it's a really good question. And I'm going to start by saying, if you're watching this and you're a private label seller, don't tune out, because this actually applies to you too. Because in the course of what's going on with retail arbitrage, you're going to learn a lot about what you as a private label brand might be able to do to prevent other people from selling your products, because it's becoming a thing now. A lot of even small companies are sort of getting into this, I don't want other folks selling my product. And there's sort of a right way and a very wrong way to do that. So I just, as a, to make sure that, you're watching this, retail arbitrage, I don't care about that. I'm way past that. You might learn something here too, as we go through this analysis. So, but to your point, so you're absolutely right. So I actually used to do retail arbitrage when I was in law school. So we're talking, 2, 3, 4. I was selling on half.com, eBay. I was Craigslist swapping locally, even and then Amazon. But this was long before fulfillment by Amazon ever existed. So I was just doing all my own fulfillment and just buying tons of inventory and making a ton of money. And in hindsight, I probably should have just bailed on law school and just followed the Amazon flow, and I'd probably be telling other people how to be successful on Amazon. But the reality is that it is still a great entry point. I go to Amazon conferences all the time, and I meet new sellers or people who are thinking about becoming sellers. And I'm just asking, have you ever sold anything on Amazon? They're like, well, I'm thinking about like what private label product I want to make. I'm like, have you ever used Seller Central before? Have you even clicked the little button to turn it on? And like, no. Well, what you should do is you should go down to TJ Maxx or TK Maxx, I guess, if you're in Europe or whatever or Walmart or Target, and just find something to arbitrage. And I said, you can even you don't even really need the special apps to get started. Just go in the clearance section of Walmart and just, look for something with, a nice, decent spread between what you're paying for it and what it typically sells for on Amazon, and just throw it up there and see what happens, and just get a feel for it, and even if you have to sell to the slight loss, but just so you understand what you're working with. And I stand by that. I think that is 100%. If you before you get into private label and all these things, unless you're coming from a totally different background where you've been in, products your whole, if you're just kind of like, I'm thinking about quitting my job or supplementing my income, you just need to know what you're getting into. So I think retail arbitrage is great. What's happening though, and actually before I even get to that, and keep in mind that it's a lot of people making a lot of money. Gay Lisby, Andy Slamans, their group. I mean, I meet retail arbitrage sellers who are in income, not sales, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, 300-400. I mean, these
Really?
are clients.
That much? Like, actually, you can make that much money in retail arbitrage?
But you got to be big. You can't do it like casually. These people are intense, right? I mean, first of all, they're paying for everything with gift cards, because they're buying gift cards with their rewards cards or cashback cards. And you can get a gift card to TJ Maxx for 95 cents on the dollar versus paying. So that's already 5%. So you got to constantly, they've got resale certificates to make sure they don't get charged sales tax when they buy the stuff. And a lot of times they have buyers that it's not just them. They have like a team of folks going out there and sourcing products from stores in their area. But there are absolutely you can still make money doing retail arbitrage, but you can also get burned, and that's where you have to be careful. So if you're doing retail arbitrage casually, you're trying to earn a little bit of supplemental income, or you're doing a lot, you can get burned because the products you're buying on clearance, you may not be able to sell on Amazon. Or if you start selling them, you might find that you're getting letters from law firms. It may even be our law firm, because sometimes we'll do this. We get involved. It depends. It's very facts and circumstances. It's like, I will defend retail arbitrageurs who are getting shut down by brands who don't know the law and are violating the law. And I will help brands who know how to do it right. So it just depends, because but there's a sort of misunderstanding about the law. But yeah, there are certain brands.
I'm sorry to cut you off. You said it depends, and you just mentioned that the big lawyers say a lot.
Yes, it is. It's the answer to everything. But it truly does. It's a truly good use of the term. So let's take a step back. What is the traditional retail arbitrage thought process on, what is my right to sell on Amazon? I buy a product at Walmart, brand new. I put it up on Amazon, brand new. What's the problem? It's fine. I'm just selling something that I own. I have a right to sell. And they often cite what's known as the first sale doctrine, which sort of guarantees you a right to sell something that you've legally obtained and legally owned, right? If it's not a counterfeit product and you didn't steal it, you absolutely have a right to sell it. The problem is the condition in which you sell it and what you're representing to Amazon. So if you buy a product like a North Face fleece, North Face has a very sophisticated, well-respected, lifetime guarantee of their product, a warranty, and they only offer that warranty through people who buy their products through the authorized channels, right? So if you sell something North Face on Amazon as new, but you're not selling it as authorized, they're going to say that what you're selling doesn't carry the same warranty as if somebody bought it from an actual North Face store or from a store that's authorized to sell North Face products. So you're misleading the customer, because the customer thinks they're getting a new North Face fleece. And yes, it's new in the sense that it has never been used before, but without that warranty, you're not offering the same product. It's materially different.
Isn't like the warranty guaranteed by the manufacturer? Like, when you buy a pack of chips, and there's always 1-800 number, call us if there's something wrong, we'll refund it. It doesn't go through the seller, who's the retail store. You go through the manufacturer itself. So isn't the same apply to Amazon?
So the problem is that the manufacturer has the ability to say, we're not going to honor that warranty because you didn't buy it through our authorized distributor. Mm-hmm. So let's say let's move off of clothing and go into something a little bit more gray, supplements. Let's say you bought fish oil, okay? And you bought fish oil from Amazon, and instead of buying it from the manufacturer's authorized retail chain, so from a store that they've authorized to sell, you buy it from a seller on Amazon. That manufacturer might say, we're not going to honor that warranty because you bought it from Amazon. Well, what's the difference? Well, how do they know that the person you bought it from, instead of storing it under the conditions that they require per their quality control requirements, maybe you stored those products in your garage in Florida where it's 200 degrees and degraded the quality of the fish oil, right? There's a quality control problem. So companies have a right to have quality controls in place. They have a right to have warranties. If you have a money back guarantee, if I buy a product from Walmart for $20 and it comes with a money back guarantee on the label, right? And then I subsequently sell it to a consumer for $40, is the manufacturer going to have to give the consumer $40 back? But they only sold it for $20 at Walmart. You see what I'm saying? So the money back guarantee can't be honored. Right? Mm-hmm. But the consumer buying it through Amazon thinks they're buying a new product. There's a company, Williams and Sonoma is suing Amazon right now over this, because what they're saying is Amazon is sort of representing that they have a Williams and Sonoma store on Amazon, but they don't, because they'll say Amazon's Williams and Sonoma store, right? But it's not actually Williams and Sonoma's authorized products. So, they're arguing that this is misrepresenting to the customer that they're buying authorized goods. But in actual fact, they're buying goods that Williams-Sonoma could say, well, we're not going to honor those warranties. Right?
They're suing actual Amazon, not some third-party seller? Like
Nope, they're actually suing
saying,
Amazon for.
like, why are you
And
carrying our product? Like, is that it?
yeah, because Amazon, they don't want Amazon to sell their product, and Amazon's not selling their product. Other sellers are, but they're representing it. Like if you look at the picture they submit in the case, it's it says Williams and Sonoma store, right, or something like that. In the way it does on Amazon. So if you're a consumer, you might think that this is a Williams and Sonoma product line that's being offered through Amazon through Williams and Sonoma, and that's not the case. And one of their points, and sort of one of the points that's sort of made is that, with Amazon, it's different than eBay. When you sell something on eBay, you kind of know there's sort of there's sort of the consumers know what they may not be getting authorized goods. It's sort of like, it's sort of like a spectrum. You've got Craigslist and Facebook's marketplace on one end, and you've got Amazon on the other. The problem with Amazon and Prime, it's just there's so little acknowledgement of the actual seller, which is, from the tax law side, I've talked about a lot, that consumers don't really even know that it's coming from Amazon or not. Consumers often will just see Amazon, they'll see Prime, and they'll just assume they're buying from Amazon, or they'll ask Alexa for the product, and Alexa will just pick and they just think they're buying from Amazon, right? Like when you get that thank you email from Amazon after you buy the product, it says thank you for shopping with us, right? It doesn't say thank you for shopping with Joe Seller, right? In fact, Joe Seller's name isn't on the email, although maybe very recently Amazon might be changing it because they're tired of me criticizing that point and raising that argument in challenging other legal problems. But historically, people don't even know. I always ask people I talk to who are Amazon buyers, and they ask, about the cases I'm working on. I always say, well, I said, you shop on Amazon? Yeah. Did you buy from the third-party sellers? Yeah. No, absolutely. I said, who's your favorite seller? I don't know, because I really just think I'm buying from Amazon. It's like they don't really understand that. Like they never really stop to think about it. It's like these sellers have no identity. It's why you're not retailers. So that's their argument. But that's one side of it. What the brands are saying to the sellers, though, is that, yeah, you're kind of retailers, but you're putting our products through Amazon. And I guess because of the way Amazon works, people, and it says new, people think they're buying new and authorized goods through our supply chain. And that's just simply not the case. And so you have to be aware. So what are your options? I mean, you have to be mindful when you buy products, when you source retail arbitrage, think about the product, and definitely diversify. So don't, if you see 1,000 North Face fleeces sitting in a clearance rack, you may want to think twice about buying all of them, unless the store has a decent return policy. Because you might find yourself getting a letter after you've sold through 20 of them that you can't sell the rest of them, or that if you do, somebody might sue you, and they may sue you. And it's entirely probable that some of these companies may. Obviously, the majority of these companies will send you threatening letters. They want you to take it down. That's really all they want. And we do help sellers who get those letters. But I always tell sellers who get those letters, it's a risk. You can keep selling it. Amazon's not going to stop you. But I can't promise you that this company won't sue you. I can't promise you that this company will be the one that just decides that you need to be sued for what you're selling. The other thing to think about when you're selling products is, when we talk about this material difference in warranty, there's this sort of defense that you would have as a seller of the product to say, well, that material difference that you're quoting is pretextual. So let me give you an example. Video games. I personally believe video games and DVDs are probably the safest products to retail arbitrage, because when is the last time somebody called up Microsoft for a video game warranty? It's typically a 90-day Xbox warranty, or Bethesda or whoever, right? If my DVD breaks, I'm just going to go back to Walmart and get a new one, right? I'm not going to claim a warranty. And if I had to go through discovery with a DVD company and determine how many actual DVD warranty claims they file, I'd probably say it's pretty pretextual, right? And so there's really not a whole lot of material difference there. So, and I'm not saying that there couldn't be a case, but I'm just saying that you have to look at the products you're selling on a spectrum. If you sell a body product, meaning the product goes in, on, around, near, anything that has to do with your body, it touches your body, they have a higher, they have a better case, because now it goes back to that example with the fish oil being in Florida. It's like, well, now you're talking about if this compound company is selling my product and it's a product that somebody eats and it's not being held to our quality control standards and somebody could get hurt, then you have a stronger case. So, if you see a great deal in vitamin supplements that are, seeing the Walmart clearance rack, be mindful that that company may try to shut you down and they have a stronger case because they could say this is in order to protect the consumer's health, right? We don't want them to get hurt from rotten fish oil.
This is a little bit scary because you're not talking about, how if I'm an arbitrager, I'll use an app which will tell me if a brand is gated or not. But you are not even talking about that. If I'm going to check if it's not gated and I'm selling, it doesn't matter. It could be that they're not even gating their brand on Amazon. It's just that after the fact, when you're already selling it without Amazon restricting it, you're actually going to get, like you said, sued or a letter from them, and then you'll have to take your goods down. So that's what you're saying is happening? Like,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Gating is actually easier. Gating's easy because then just don't buy the product, right? But Amazon doesn't gate very often. They gate in areas where, obviously there's high risk of counterfeit. Apple, which is now being criticized, but they don't. Anything that's open it's the brands that have to do the enforcement. Amazon is trying to say we're hands off. We're just a marketplace. We can't control what people sell. Obviously, a lot of times what these companies really want to do is they want to enforce MAP. That's what's really the problem, right? And all this, warranty, quality control, and we talk about pretextual. Let's put it back to perspective. What they're really ticked off about is that you're selling the product below their minimum advertised price that all of their authorized sellers have to follow. So it messes with their supply chain. And one of the arguments they raise when they do that is this tortious interference of contract, that you're messing up their supply chain. You're messing up their relationship with their authorized vendors, authorized retailers. So, that's really what's motivating this. And that causes, of course, brands to do it the wrong way. We see a lot of brands really do really stupid things when they try to enforce their MAP policies through these letters. And so sometimes they'll use brand registry and shut you down. Sometimes they'll send Amazon letters saying you're infringing on trademarks, but then they'll tell you it's a MAP violation. There's no, if you try to shut someone down through brand registry arguing trademark infringement but it's really a MAP enforcement, or you actually say you're violating our MAP, you could potentially be involved in certain antitrust issues in the United States. You could get sued. One of the lawyers we work with closely, he sued a brand. He countersued a brand who shut down his account, or one of his clients' accounts, for doing that because they shut him down as a MAP violator and claimed trademark infringement and all these things, but it was totally BS. Which is why it goes to my point before. It's like when we help brands. It's a gray area. So when we help brands, if brands want to have control over who's selling their products, you need to get the legal advice. You need to get the policies in place, the quality control. You need to have a MAP policy, but you need to get all those things in place and then know how to enforce it properly. Using brand registry usually is not the best way for enforcing MAP. It is a good way to enforce counterfeits and other things, but if it's minimum advertised price you're trying to enforce, brand registry is not always going to be the best way. In fact, it can be very dangerous and could put brands do this wrong all the time, but the bigger brands have figured out how to do it the right way to where they're within their rights to allege the infringement and knock you off the listing. And if that happens to you and you can't sell it, you're left in a situation where, okay, what do you do with the inventory? You try to sell it on Craigslist, you try to sell it on Facebook or eBay, but you may not be able to get back on Amazon. So it's scary.
That's exactly the point that makes me feel so uneasy with arbitraging because, when you buy something on clearance, it's usually the final sale and you can't come back to Walmart and return them. Very often that's the case. And
actually, Walmart's pretty good about that. Walmart will let you return, but 90 days. I don't think Walmart does final sale. As a former Walmart
lawyer, that is
I don't remember.
better. So that's one of the practical tips,
you're actually right. A lot of stores do that. Absolutely.
So what else practically I could do as a new arbitrager? Like, how do I protect myself, or like I can't really afford an expensive lawyer, and I don't know which brands to avoid. Is there like a list of brands that like to do that, or something like that?
You know, that's actually a good idea. We should start compiling, because we get these complaints. I mean, pretty regularly. We get sellers, clients come to us saying, we got this letter, and it's a pretty simple conversation. It's, do you want to roll the dice? Do you want to not? Do you want us to help you make nice and just, tell them in a way where you're not legally making admissions and, or, potentially incriminating yourself? We could tell them that you're going to stop. That's very easy to do. I think, yeah, I mean, a lot of the big brands, like I said, I can certainly tell you North Face is hyper aggressive. The video game front, I've seen Bethesda. That's why I mentioned the video games, but I actually think that their position is weak, but that's not legal advice. It's my own, and again, even if I say legally their position is weak, they're a big company with they could take you to court and you'd be in a really tough situation where the legal, so it's one of those things where it's like, when you're a lawyer for Amazon sellers and you do conferences and webinars, it's like, I can be law professor lawyer, or I can be, common sense, practical lawyer. And, from a law professor lawyer perspective, I can say, yeah, Bethesda's case might be weak, but from a common sense practical lawyer, say, even still, if you had to go to court against them, you'd spend more money, you would drown yourself in legal fees till the cows came home, and you'd be miserable, and it's probably not worth it to keep going just to sell 50 more copies of the video game. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there is a good list, and that's actually a really good idea. And I should probably talk to some of the other folks who are in this space, some of the other lawyers who dealt with these, and see if maybe we should come out with one.
Yeah, that would be quite useful if you posted like on your.
That would be pretty cool. I don't know what the implications are off the top of my head of that, or what the reservations would be. But it would be. But yeah, I mean, the big brands there's a law firm called Vorys, Vorys, that a lot of the big brands have retained to do this sort of brand enforcement letter writing campaign. And I've heard they pay upwards of $25,000 a month, especially if the brand has lots of SKUs, right? To these law firms for this. And just so you understand their system is very, it's a system every law firm would use to this, is that it's scaled, right? I mean, it's scary email, scary letter, scarier letter, draft of a lawsuit they might file against you. So every time you don't take action or do something, they just kind of up the heat. And then the question is, well, what do they do after that? What do they do after the lawsuit, right? But statistically, the idea is that the majority, like over 90+% of sellers, if you do that system, will stop selling your product by the time they get the draft of the lawsuit. Again, not filed lawsuit, but just sort of a draft complaint saying this is what we're going to do. And just so you see we're serious, here's a draft. And they find that that's very effective. So sellers sell out, and then they know not to buy that product anymore, or they make nice with the vendor. Sometimes, but it's scary out there. So, I mean, listen, I mean, I think that's why if you're in retail arbitrage, you just have to be, diverse. Like, you just can't put all, like I said, if you see a great deal on 1,000 North Face fleece jackets, you may want to think twice. It may be a buy 10 along with a bunch of other stuff, but putting your eggs all in one basket, in one brand being the basket, is definitely not a good idea. So definitely diversify. What else? I mean, I don't want to discourage people from doing it. I still think it's good, but it's just, and then if you sell something and you get a letter, I mean, talk to us. I don't recommend you communicate directly with the brands, because sometimes you say things, but we can very easily tell them that, hey, this person only has 3 units of this stuff left, and they're going to sell out, or they're just not going to sell it anymore, or whatever we need to do to get them off your back and make it go away. But it's just it's still alive and well. But if I saw Lululemon, I probably wouldn't touch Lululemon. Like, there's just certain brands I just kind of have a sense like they're going to be aggressive, right? So And then sometimes it's the brands that, you've never heard of that will do it the wrong way, because they're not going to spend $25,000 a month on a law firm that actually knows how to do it the right way. They're going to do it themselves, and they're going to go through brand registry or through counterfeit, and file 10 counterfeit notices against you. And now they've probably violated the law because they've just messed with your account. They've tortiously interfered. They've defamed you, and so you might actually have a claim against them. So I mean, there's plenty of for all the big brands that do it right. There's plenty of small brands that really mess it up and put themselves in danger. So that's what I say. Like, if you're watching this as a retail arbitrager, again, I'm not trying to discourage you, but I know that a lot of retail arbitrage people just go first sale doctrine, and it's just not that clear. I think if Amazon, which they'll never do this, by the way, but I think if Amazon had a category on their website where they had like new and new authorized and new other, with like other meaning that you don't know where it's coming from, there would be less, you would have a better case for the first sale doctrine then, right? Because at least somehow the consumer knows, okay, I'm not really getting this from an authorized, like distributor. I'm really just buying off of somebody else who got it from some, I think that would be a way to remedy that. But obviously Amazon doesn't want that. They like the fact that consumers can arbitrage, that their customers can benefit from arbitrage pricing. So
what's that first sale doctrine? I'm unfamiliar with that.
So it comes from the whole line of Supreme Court cases. I think the most recent one was just a few years ago, involving textbooks, right? Like there were textbooks they weren't intended to be sold in the United States, right? There were books, and so the publisher sued to say that you can't sell this here because this isn't intended to be sold in the United States. But these were legal copies, so I buy copies of a book and I bring it to the United States and I want to sell it to somebody. There's nothing, I have a right to sell it. They can't stop me from selling it, right? As a used book, right? And if you think about it, it makes sense, right? If companies could stop us from selling their stuff, then I could be violating the law by having a yard sale, right? Because all these things, like, oh, you can't sell that car because it's used. You don't have the right. It's the first sale doctrine guarantees you a right to sell a product, but it doesn't give you the right to sell a product that is represented as brand new from the manufacturer per se. That's and that's where the line is, and that's the problem. So if there's like the used like new category, that would be fine, but you want new because you want to be in the buy box. So and that's where, and again, it's because of the way Amazon hides the seller. It makes it look like, it makes consumers think that even when they're buying it from a seller, sellers could easily think they're just getting it from Amazon, especially if it's like an Alexa buy, right? That's why they go after Amazon more so than they do eBay, because it's that, customers kind of know when on eBay, right? Because one, you don't have ASINs on eBay, right? Every listing is unique, right? You can have 50 listings for the same jacket. But that's not Amazon. Amazon, it's one ASIN. So consumers don't necessarily really understand the third party dynamic and may think that when they're buying it new from Amazon. The funny thing about Amazon is what a lot of people don't know, and this drives me nuts, is that, even when you buy new, Amazon diverts. Amazon buys products. Like if Amazon wants to sell a product and the company won't sell it to Amazon, they'll find a diverter. They'll find it and they'll sell it as an authorized, right? So even Amazon does this. So even when you buy new and it says sold by Amazon, and you're thinking, okay, well now I'm getting it authorized, right? Not necessarily. Costco does this too, right? Costco sells, every once in a while Costco will get their hands on some products that companies don't want sold in Costco, and they'll sell it. And that certainly raises concerns, but that's the issue. And it's not to say that it's, could there be case law one day that, favors the retail arbitrage person over these brand enforcement people? Maybe, but it hasn't happened yet. It's still gray, right? So the theory, the thing is now is that if you have a trademark and you're selling on my mark, you're selling my brand, and you're selling a lesser quality product than what I'm selling as new, representing it, then you're degrading my brand, you're infringing on my mark. And so you have that case, and because you're selling a materially different product as new under my brand. So that's sort of the case that the brands have to do this. So
So as
it's
a private labeler now, I suddenly have a lot of power when I hear that, right? Okay, as an arbitrager, I'm scared, but as a private labeler, I feel like I've suddenly have more options for me, for hijackers and just, I don't know, people. The bigger the brand I am, the more I'm happy with this situation.
Well, I told you at the beginning. Remember what I said at the beginning? If you're a private labeler, stay tuned, hang in there, right? Because I told you we're going to get there. Because we do that. Because our firm, we recognize that there's, I love retail arbitrage, and I love, because again, it's where I come from. It's me. I love it. I mean, I just think it's awesome. But my philosophy is there's a right way to enforce your brand, and there's a wrong way to enforce your brand, and it's what the law says. And we if you're playing within the limits of the law, then yeah, you should have a right to enforce your brand. Majority of retail arbitrage brands out there, company, stuff people sell, if the brands are enforcing it all, a lot of times they're doing it wrong. And I'm all for a retail arbitrage seller suing somebody who, used brand registry to go and illegally claim trademark to enforce their minimum advertised pricing policies. I'm all for it. But there's a right way to do it. And absolutely, we help companies all the time, because we just noticed, like, all of a sudden, a lot of retail arbitrage people who, I met years ago, who were like, I hate this, I hate these people, they're, first sale doctrine, rah, rah, rah. Now they're coming to us and saying, how do I get other people to stop selling my products? And so we can help set up the policies that you need, and enforce your rights the right way, so that you don't get sued. And that's what we do. So and again, it's just there's a right way to do it. But yeah, absolutely, this is empowering for brands. We recognize that brands cannot afford $25,000 a month, so we do not charge anywhere near that amount of money.
Ah, good to know. So what is your price for that?
I don't know at the top of my head. We have this website, Econ Guardian. Again, this goes to Jeff Schick. Shout out to him. This is his brainchild, to figure out how to do this. But
let's look at it together. Yeah, see, I was checking out on LinkedIn here before. All right, so what did you say? What was that?
Econ Guardian.
Econ Guardians.
But I think it starts. I think it's in the hundreds of dollars a month, depending on how many SKUs.
Wait, One Guardian.
ECOM Guardian.
Yeah.
I can't promise it's a great website, but
that's all right. We can take a look. So,
not to be confused with The Guardian. That's a newspaper website.
Right. Okay. So we are looking for pricing. You don't really put the pricing because it's
okay. We don't. What I would suggest, yeah. I mean, but I know it's if you have a dozen SKUs, it's in hundreds of dollars a month or something, and and it depends. Like, if we have to write quality control policies and all those things, it's the expensive part would be probably the startup costs. And I am not super into the pricing. I should be better, and I apologize for that. I didn't think we were going there today, but
I'm just checking it out, and just random things. That's the way I would usually look if you are not talking to me. I'm just usually hover over a few things and judge. For example, I'd look at the section here. You've been featured in some things. I noticed when I just came to the website, there was section here that says our lawyers have been featured on all these famous places. There they are. So were you
that's all made up. That's all made up. No, none of us have ever been any of this. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, put my name in Google.
Your name.
It sounds so arrogant when I say it that way, but put my name in Google.
Let's see. Oh wait, I'm so sorry.
Because that's so. I know what you mean. It's cheesy. People do that all the time, but I can legitimately claim, and Jeff has been in the Wall Street Journal.
But I'm in Turkey, so I may see different results than you expect. All right, so amazingfreedom.com.
Yeah, I was on
Facebook, and Law School. So you're a professor?
Yeah. That's an old profile.
That's why you kept mentioning from 2 points of view, from professor's view, and from practical. That is very good.
Right. Well, I have to do that, because from professor's view, I could argue anything, but there's a legal cost to do it. It's like when we talk about taxes, and when I was talking about the cost of a tax defense.
Right.
You know,
Let's
I
check.
can tell you, you're right.
Do people?
But no, I mean, you can go if you keep going. Like it may be Turkey, but like I even sent you a link to the Forbes article. But no, I've been in every. I mean, I get contacted by the media all the time on Amazon stuff. So we've been in everything.
Right, there's the Seller Fest where I met you in Israel,
Yeah.
and I see. All right, so you seem to be quite famous in my circles. I just
Oh yeah, but I'm good in the news, man. I mean, I'm telling you, we got it. Like I said, we got the Forbes. The same. I'm going to defend those symbols, right? Because people always put that. Like I've fallen for that before, where like I'll hire somebody who's like a social media guru. I made this mistake years ago, and they had that same thing, and then it's like they actually weren't. I couldn't find them in anything. I think they advertise in those publications. I think that's what they do. But no,
okay.
I've actually had articles about me. And Jeff has had articles in many more than those publications. And I'm not bragging. We're very big in, I'm also very big in the Amazon advocacy space. I volunteer a ton of my time advocating for Amazon sellers.
That's right. You just sent me, sorry to cut you off. You just sent me a Forbes link, right? Just earlier in the prep call.
About our lawsuit against California and sort of these, Amazon vis-a-vis California.
So are you involved in that lawsuit yourself?
Yeah.
Like you are the lawyer who's behind this?
Yeah, I'm one of 3 law firms involved.
So you guys are suing Amazon itself?
We're suing California. Whether Amazon will be brought in or want to intervene, I mean, I won't say it, but we're asking the state of California. Actually, we're telling the state of California has a legal obligation to make Amazon pay all the back taxes it owes for the last 6 years that California is claiming the sellers owe. If that makes sense.
That's like very
I would
big
fully expect Amazon probably will care at some point.
Wow.
If you click on the bottom, I think you can actually read our complaint. It's a very basic notice, complaint. It's going to get much more developed over time as in the briefing and motions and blah, blah, blah.
I'm not so sure where I should look. I guess.
Scroll up.
So Raffleson also referred. Oh, that's you, right? To a recent.
That is me. Yeah.
Oh, this is.
I think somewhere on there is a link to our actual
case.
That's South Carolina. Keep going. Stop. Let's see.
Yeah, there's no links here.
This is so funny.
All right. But you proved your point. You get a check mark for a social proof from me. This is cool.
All right. Yeah, the first time I was in CNBC, it was like the first publication I was in. It was the weirdest. It was the freakiest thing. It was in 2017. That's when I just started getting into the Amazon seller law thing. Like when I pivoted out of corporate because, and I was blogging and somebody from the media from CNBC reached out to me about an article involving taxes, South Carolina and Donald Trump. And it was the weirdest thing ever. But since then, I don't know. I have a big list of all these articles that my name pops up, and it's really fun.
That's great. That's a nice thing that you're specializing on Amazon. Sometimes, I don't know about lawyers, but if you're looking for accountant, if you go to regular accountant, they will have no idea about nothing online, nothing Amazon, and there will be anything I say is usually weird and unusual, even just to open a bank account if they never heard of online business before, it's so difficult. So it's nice to have a lawyer. Yeah, no,
I'll tell you, it's so important. And I think the problem with Amazon sellers and the thing about being a lawyer that focuses on Amazon websites and why it made sense, I thought it made sense for me coming from big corporate to go into this space is that, I'm used to dealing with companies with big footprints, right, across the country, across multiple countries, right? And what Amazon has done more so than any other company is given small businesses that sort of instant footprint of national and international. And so, even a small solopreneur operating out of their kitchen table in Idaho could have consequences in California relating to Prop 65, which is, disclosing that this is the chemicals in this product could hurt you, or, whatever the issues are, you're sort of thrusted into, interstate commerce in a way that was never possible before. And so if you're not a lawyer focused in that mindset, then you may miss things. And so I always say that, like, going to a local lawyer, they oftentimes miss because they'll treat you like you're opening up a local tea shop around the corner, but you're not. Right. You're opening up a global tea shop. and there's global consequences, and that's just not something local lawyers will have experience doing. Even yesterday, I was 2 days ago, I was at this conference. We're talking about the tariffs and how you can file for exceptions and all this stuff about all these tariff laws. And I asked the lawyer a question. He comes from a big law firm, and I asked him a question about how the policy behind tariffs from the perspective of sellers, when U.S.-based sellers especially are not going to lie about what they're importing because we have to fear the consequences of the United States government. But you've got 2.5 million sellers in China who can roll the dice and totally lie on their customs declaration forms, or say things are made out, ship something to Vietnam and say made in Vietnam, and they don't care, because the worst case scenario, government takes their products, but 99% of the time they're going to get away with it, and so it really puts U.S. sellers at a disadvantage. I don't think he really believed that sellers in China would actually do that. I don't think I think he thought that sounded outrageous, but every Amazon seller I'm talking to in the conference is like, yeah, that's been my question. That's my concern. It's like, my competition isn't going to have to play by the tariff rules because they're going to cheat. And, you just have to be in the space long enough to know that, like, yeah, these things are real. I think people outside of the Amazon world are so surprised by how black hat things can get. And, these stories are just, they would seem unbelievable, because the companies we're used to dealing with would never do that, because the risk would be insane, right? It would violate every policy, with the exception of maybe Enron being the one company that maybe would do that. I'm kidding. But, it makes a difference. And same with the accountants, and I see it with the tax. How many accountants tell my clients, you need to go and register for sales tax in all 50 states. I'm like, you do $300,000 in sales and you live in Iowa, you register for taxes in 50 states, you'll be bankrupt, just in accounting fees. And there's serious constitutional law questions there, and your local accountant doesn't even know what the Constitution of the United States is, and let alone is not qualified to actually make a determination, right? They're just so. Mm-hmm. No, I'm gonna get off my little rant. You started me down a rant.
And this black hat things are so real. I've been recently invited to this underground WeChat. WeChat's like WhatsApp in US. So in China they use WeChat instead. And I just happened to be invited by a random Chinese hacker to this mafia group where they discuss all bad things for Amazon. And I was just like, looked around for a few days and decided that's bad karma. I just left the group. So, but it's so real, and the discussions were about like, oh, there's this hack there, we can do this, oh, we can, it's so bad. Like, this is so, it's there, and we have to protect ourselves.
I even told, with sales tax, I said, man, if I was living in China right now, especially before Amazon started doing all the tax collection, as these laws are changing and all that stuff. I mean, I have to imagine, just there must be a fair number of sellers in foreign countries who are collecting sales tax on their Amazon sales and just pocketing it. Because there's Amazon doesn't tell the states who collects and who doesn't. And that money is getting deposited into bank accounts in, Hong Kong or wherever, good luck. The states will never get that money. And, in Europe, VAT fraud is so prevalent. Like, there's massive cases on VAT fraud, really crazy cases. Or VAT fraud. I don't want to say VAT, but same thing. But sales tax has never been really that easy to manipulate at a scale that it was in the last couple of years, where you could operate in a foreign country, sell into the United States through a website, actually generate massive amounts of sales, collect the tax, and not remit it. I mean, that Amazon created this monster for sales tax fraud, and I guarantee the states probably don't even want to look. They don't even want to know. The reason they don't want to ask Amazon for the sales data of what was collected is they don't want to know how badly they were defrauded over the last few years. But I mean, if I'm in a foreign country and I don't care, I mean, it would be like a joke. Like, yeah, why not just charge an extra 7% and pocket it as margin? Whatever. I can I'm already in China. I can price my product low enough that even with tax, it's again,
I didn't even think of that, that you could actually do that, something like this. That's true. You charge on top, and then you just you don't remit it.
Was the state of Iowa going to come after you? California going to come after you if you're in Hong Kong or you're in China, you're in Japan? I mean, honestly, anywhere outside, maybe Canada, you might have a shot, but Um, it's utterly, and sellers have told me that too. I mean, they've complained about it too. Like they know it's happening, but and thankfully that issue will get resolved very soon. But or for the most, except in Florida. But you know, 2000, prior to that, 2017, 16, I mean, that was open season on tax fraud.
Right.
If you were in a foreign country.
So this facilitator tax, just as a last question before I say goodbye. So facilitator tax, you're saying, is not coming to Florida? Like what's happening in Florida? Why is it so different there?
Yeah, they messed up their legal. They just messed up the legislature. There's a Republican, I don't know, senator, I don't remember who it was, but some Republican in Florida felt like Amazon's facilitator tax was a new tax. I would actually argue it's an old tax. Like it was already the law because Amazon's a retailer. And so they basically fought to kill it. So they killed the bill. And
who's they? Amazon?
No, I mean, I don't know if Amazon was by, but whoever the Republican guy was working with, or whatever tax organization, anti-tax, Florida's it's a southern state with a, we don't want to be tax mentality. And say like, this is a new tax, this is an internet tax, and they didn't want it. So they killed it. So it never got passed. So, October 1st, you got like California, Texas, Massachusetts, all these states will pile in on October 1st. On January 1st, you have Illinois. And sort of as I predicted, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, whenever Washington started their law, almost 2 years ago, as I sort of predicted, we're pretty much at the point now, we're in 2020, where just about every state has passed this marketplace facilitator law. The exception being like Florida and Kansas. And nobody cares about Kansas because the dollars are typically not very big. But Florida is usually the second biggest state outside of California for sellers, right? It's usually California, Florida, Texas, New York. That's kind of like the top four for most sellers. And so that's big. I'm not saying that means you have to register in Florida or not register in Florida. I'm not going there. But there is legislation being introduced that will try to get it into effect for July 1st. We'll see what happens. Again, I think the state has authority to do it anyway. I think every state had authority to do it anyway, at least with respect to Amazon FBA. But that's they just messed up. So we'll see. And I will say, by the way, if you are registering, if you're especially if you're in the United States, if you're thinking about registering because you have a big Shopify store, or if you have a big Shopify store and an FBA store, I would just be very careful. I don't mean to plug our firm, but I would talk to me about it. I wrote a post on my Facebook group. It's like Amazon Seller Sales Tax Law. It sort of explains it. But the idea is this: if you do a lot of money on Shopify and Amazon already told California about you, California is going to think you're just an Amazon seller like everybody else. And as an Amazon seller, you have a legal defense that you're not a retailer under regulation 1569, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that makes it harder for them to go after you, and that's our lawsuit. However, if that's true, if you're 100% Amazon, then any tax, after October 1st, any sales that you make will have no tax to report. You would report zero sales, zero tax, right? Because Amazon will now be picking up the tab. But if after October 1st, you suddenly start reporting like $10,000 of tax, $20,000 of tax because you have a Shopify store where you lack that defense of I'm not the retailer because you are the retailer, you will just given away to California that you're a very big Shopify seller. And because California will say you have nexus because of FBA, again, legal question, but that's their position. They may say, okay, well, putting Amazon aside, we're going to go after you for 6 years of your Shopify back taxes. And that could be devastating. So if you're a big Shopify seller, even if you didn't fully quite get what I'm telling you, check out my group, Amazon Seller Sales Tax Law. I posted a thing there. We'll let everybody in. And I would talk to me. I mean, I really would. It's if you have big dollars with Shopify, if you're registered now, or if you're planning to register, if you were one of those people who, if your company was one of those companies that Amazon told California about, you need to take some evasive action before you go forward with collecting sales tax on your Shopify business. That makes sense. It's kind of a little bit out there, but
specialized. But there may be just one or two people who will help with that, and that's already very significant. what's the takeaways of today? I'm going to summarize. All right. If you're an arbitrager, you know, you got to be careful. And you should really start getting, you know, looking around for that list and little bit checking, I guess, on Facebook groups, seeing which brands like to, you know, to file the lawsuits against you. And just to start getting a feel, you know, be in the community, get a feel of which brands are, you know, better to work with. So basically, you have to be in the industry to start understanding which way is going to work and which one doesn't. And be careful, don't order too many units, like Paul said, of one item. But you can still do it, and that's just perfect way to learn the ropes. But my personal suggestion is probably as soon as you learn the ropes, jump to private label, and it seems like it's a much better side to be on these days. What do you say?
I think if you, I think so. I mean, private label, you know, private label has its own risk, right? You could, you know, manufacturing a product that nobody wants to buy is just like buying a product that you can't sell, right? I mean, so it's got its own risks. You know, if you like retail arbitrage, there's some really great groups out there that you know, certainly you can reach out to me. You know, that are, you know, it's like $100 a month. You know, they're not, you know, and really smart people. Like I said, Andy Slamans and Gay Lisby have a great group on retail arbitrage, and you know, so learn from them. And they're probably, you know, you talk about the list, they probably have the intel. So I mean, if you want to do retail arbitrage, if that's your thing. You know, I would suggest get plugged in with other folks who are doing it. So check out a group, you know, especially once the dollars start getting big. You know, if you're doing, you know, to the point where it doesn't really matter. Like, you know, you can live with a loss or two. That's fine. But if you want to go to that next level and you're going to start buying big, you should probably check out some of these groups and get involved.
I found the group. That's the group you talked about, right? Yes, your group.
That's my group. Yes.
Tax law. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I see you are sharing. Oh, cool. So people ask questions and they could get answers. Yeah. Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, we're pretty.
All right.
We have another group, but start from there, and then, you know, we have a group that you know, this one specializes in the tax stuff, but we take most questions.
For example, yeah.
So we have a separate FRS suspension group. I don't know what it is called. It's like a seller. I think it's called like Seller Central Amazon or something like that. That like that's more for the non-tax stuff, but I don't know where it is.
Accounting and tax questions?
No, that's not us. Let's see.
All right then. Okay, so if you give me a link, I'll post it in the comment under the video. All right.
Yeah, Amazon Seller Central, Amazon Sellers Tax Law and Business. I'll send you a terrible link.
All right.
Oh, Legal Buzz. Facebook.com/group/Legal Buzz. ELEGALBUZZ. But yes, thank you very much. It was really great catching up with you and talking to you, and a lot of fun. Good questions. And
thank you. Good answers. Thanks.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care.
Have a great
Bye.